Imagine getting arrested for buying Dogecoin. Well, you know what? You may not have to imagine that much longer because it is official. The first arrest in the history of this specific category has been made. And you may be wondering, does that mean I'm going to get arrested? You're going to get arrested for buying Dogecoin? Well, no, not quite that. You obviously can probably infer that buying Dogecoin is not an arrestable offense, but the way these individuals decided to purchase said Dogecoin and other cryptocurrencies is perhaps something that is going to be massively used by the law enforcement agents to arrest people moving forward. Let's go ahead and look at this case, and perhaps you could even argue it is not only justified, but it's necessary. There's really a lot to look at here, a lot to unpack, as this is the big story coming out. 3 people have now been charged with a first ever cryptocurrency insider trading tipping scheme. This has never happened before. In stocks, if you do insider trading, serious consequences. We're talking about jail time potentially. We're talking about losing your entire net worth. We're talking about going and having these massive cases brought against you to where you can't even participate in trading for a long time, for an extended amount of time, plus also jail time. All this stuff, it can ruin an entire person's life if they decide to do that, which is, I guess, the whole point, right? They're not allowing you to do that, and so if you do, then you get in big trouble potentially. So this right here is one of the craziest things that's happened in cryptocurrency in a while, and we'll go ahead and get into all of the details. And you can ask yourself, will you be getting arrested? And the answer is probably not, but it could be, depending on who you are and what you've done. Take a look at this. Damian Williams, the United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York. By the way, New York is really where a lot of this extreme crackdown type of law happens, where you can see a lot of these first of their kind cases on the state level. So it's really crazy to look at. And Michael J. Discrow, the Assistant Director in charge of New York Field Office of Federal Bureau of Investigation, announced today the unsealing of an indictment charging Sean Wahi, a former product manager at Coinbase Global, aka Coinbase, Nikhil Wahi, and Samir Ramani with the wire fraud conspiracy and wire fraud in connection with a scheme to commit insider trading in cryptocurrency assets by using confidential Coinbase information about which crypto assets were scheduled to be listed on Coinbase exchanges. Ishan Wahi and Nikhil Wahi were arrested this morning in Seattle, and then they say Samir is, quote, at large, which is a little bit silly because, I mean, he's probably just chilling in his house. I mean, who knows what he's doing, or he's probably at his grandma's house or something. I mean, he'll eventually have to turn himself in. I highly doubt he'll be on the run and incur more charges because he's also not going to be facing the most serious of the charges. That would most likely be really the biggest charges that we're going to see are certainly going to be against Sean here, who is really having the hammer crack down on him. Now, it's possible they will not be able to actually prosecute them here and have them go into, I guess, prison, right? Would that be what happens here? It could certainly happen. It's possible they won't be able to actually bring a case forward. But what the heck? Well, it looks like the FBI is not liking this too much. Yeah, look at that. See, that right there's proof. The FBI, if you ever try to criticize them and say they're not going to be able to press the charges forward, or in this case, the Attorney General, the New York government, if you ever criticize any government, even a state government, apparently, we now know they will destroy all of your belongings by forcefully taking your iPad to the ground using telekinesis. Incredible stuff. Now, at this point, I think we have to change the stringing. The government, very good, very great, lots of good stuff, no corruption, great people. They never, ever accept money to do bad stuff. And they're all just stand-up individuals. They really are. I mean, incredible job by each and every government official to not only run this country perfectly, but to do it with a smile on their faces and all look extremely good as well while they're doing it, including the older, overweight ones. Still, they look extremely good while they're doing it. I just have to go ahead and say that. Take a look at this so we can see U.S. Attorney Damian Williams. Today's charges, he says, are a further reminder that Web3 is not a law-free zone. Just last month, he says, I announced the first ever insider trading case involving NFTs. Today, I announced the first ever insider trading case involving cryptocurrency markets. One message with these charges is clear. Fraud is fraud, whether it occurs on blockchain or in Wall Street. Now, the Southern District of New York will continue to be relentless, he says, in bringing fraudsters to justice wherever we may find them. Now, the positive way to look at this is that if you're a Coinbase employee and you are buying the cryptocurrency that's about to be put on the exchange, and then right after it's put on, then you sell it, which, by the way, remember when Dogecoin was put on Coinbase? They did this with over 25 assets. So obviously Dogecoin, we're looking at the other assets that they made a ton of money from. It's crazy to think about that. These guys were literally just buying a large amount right before, then selling right after. It's not like they decided to hold. Not that that would necessarily matter, but this right here is one of the reasons why the spikes of those cryptocurrencies were not as big as they would have been after being added on Coinbase. And if this has been done on a broader scale, you have to imagine there are lots of people who are shaking in their boots right now. A lot of people thought it was perfectly legal to do that, which is, I guess, kind of a gray area, right? Like maybe people didn't know. I mean, I do feel to some degree bad if there is someone who maybe put like a few thousand in thinking, okay, well, it's probably not illegal. Now, technically, that's still morally wrong, and so they shouldn't do that. But at the same time, I mean, is it really fair to say, okay, someone who intentionally did something that they knew was illegal and someone who didn't intentionally do something illegal both should have the same sentence? Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe instead there's a fine, maybe they're fired, but I don't necessarily think it should be prison time if someone didn't even know if it was illegal or not. However, it still does need to be banned. You cannot have cryptocurrency exchanges where every single company, every single player of the company that knows about it will invest a large amount first and sell right after. That will basically end all of the ability for cryptocurrencies to spike from any of those hype events. That's not good for us, for the crypto market. So I think this right here is a positive step. Now, we do have to be careful because if the government decides to take too much control here and too much power, they will always and consistently use it in ways we don't like no matter what. So we have to be careful that we don't encourage them to be too forceful. But at the same time, as long as they are taking baby steps here, and just simply going after the people that are doing stuff like this, which is clearly and undeniably unethical and clearly and undeniably bad for the crypto market, then that right there, I think, will have some positive impacts. It also signifies that the government is taking cryptocurrency seriously. They're not planning to ban it. They are looking at it as something that is going to be regulated to help investors rather than regulated to hurt cryptocurrency itself. I do like that part. Just here to plug Dogex. Okay, I'm out. Peace. Says Eric H. Eric, stay. Where are you going? What the heck, man? You're just leaving just like that? Right before we get to the good part here, which is every part. Oh my gosh. Some parts are good. Some parts are terrible. FBI Assistant Director Michael J. Diskerl said, although the allegations in this case to transactions made in crypto exchange rather than a more traditional financial market, look at that. We're literally talking about at this point FBI Assistant Director. I'm just getting serious, right? They still continue insider trading. So it doesn't necessarily matter. They still constitute it. They're still insider trading, he says. And as alleged, the defendants made illegal trades in at least 25 different crypto assets and realized ill-gotten gains of approximately 1.5 million. Today's action should be demonstrate of the FBI's commitment to protecting the integrity of all financial markets, both old and new. So very, very, very breaking stuff here, groundbreaking stuff. The first time we've ever seen anything quite like this coming through, and they're clearly setting examples here. They want to show people, don't do this. It's bad. And I think that makes sense in a lot of ways. Once again, though, I'm scared because the government will always, if given the ability to, overreach with their power. And so we want to make sure, no matter what, that they do not feel too comfortable here. We cannot, under any circumstances, let that happen, or else it will, of course, be to our own detriment. Will the government ban Ratcoin? Okay, now that's the one thing, the only coin the government I give full permission to ban is Ratcoin. Now, if the government wants to say, oh, I don't know, just a mere 6 to 9 years in prison. If you even buy 1 penny worth of Ratcoin, 6 to 9 years in prison, I think that right there is really the only justification for a prison sentence for buying cryptocurrency that I would actually fully support. So government, please, whatever it takes. We may even, I think, probably it should be maximum security prison. I mean, if you purchase Ratcoin of all coins, maximum security 100%. I mean, not one of those run-of-the-mill simple prisons for 6 to 9 years. We're talking about maximum security, 6 to 9 years, minimum sentence, and that's if you only purchase a small amount. If you purchase a large amount, ooh, I mean, we don't even want to go there. So there we go. Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, Ratcoin is so bad. It's the worst coin by far. How dare anyone even consider Ratcoin as an investment? How could you? How dare you? Ratcoin, the core of Earth. Ratcoin to the core of Earth, says Carlos. Yes, that's right. We have to send Ratcoin to the very depths of Earth, where it shall never be seen or heard from again. I wonder, what is Ratcoin doing lately? I mean, you have to wonder. By the way, before we get to, we'll check on Ratcoin, see how our old buddy's doing. Ishan Wahi, 32 of Seattle, Washington. Of course, they're in Seattle. I'm not surprised. Seattle has a lot of craziness that happens there. Is charged with 2 counts of wire fraud conspiracy and 2 counts of wire fraud, each of which carries a maximum sentence of 20 years. Nicole Wahi, 26 of Seattle, Washington, is charged with 1 count of wire fraud conspiracy and 1 count of wire fraud, each of which carries a maximum sentence of 20 years. 20 years for that? That's quite a hefty sentence that could be hoisted upon them. Now, the chances are, if they do spend prison time, it's not going to be nearly that long. I mean, there's no way, right? It's going to be a few years maximum, probably like 2 years, I would say, would be the maximum here. Plus, also, they're going to have serious restrictions put on them, and of course, fines in place. So there will be consequences almost certainly if they are convicted. Now, there's a decent chance they won't be able to convict them here, but if they're making their arrest, they do believe they have a case, and so it could certainly happen that way. At the very least, they have a case, I think, against Ishan Wahi. Do they have a case here against Nikhil? Not as much, because you can't really necessarily blame him since he wasn't a Coinbase employee to the nearly the same level that you can blame Ishan, but it's clear what they're doing. They're making an example. You can't even participate in it in any way. Then Samir, 33 of Houston, Texas, is charged with 1 count of wire fraud conspiracy and 1 count of wire fraud, each of which carries a maximum sentence of 20 years as well. So all of them in serious trouble here. Of course, by far the most trouble, though, is Ishan there. It'll be really fascinating to see what happens. You have to wonder, will this set a precedent going forward of the government being way more involved in stopping cryptocurrency crime? I certainly hope that when it comes to, at the very least, fraud like this, and insider trading, where the exchange insider trading happens, that right there absolutely should not be acceptable, because that is undeniable evidence. But when it comes to things like scams and stuff like that, if they can find a way to help with that as well, that would actually be truly the value of the government in the crypto space. That right there is where we want them. Where we don't want them is to say, like, oh, now you can't invest in a decentralized crypto. Oh, well, you can't know information about decentralized crypto. Okay, well, then you're going too far. At that point, it just becomes ridiculous. If people are personally profiting from knowing information and sharing it that they should not be knowing or sharing in terms of their investment decisions, then at that point, it just makes logical sense. And I do wonder, though, if this president could actually end up hurting the crypto space long term. Once again, I'm still very scared that the government may decide to take too much power here, at which point they could say, for example, if you invest in a cryptocurrency and they think that cryptocurrency is bad, well, what if they say, okay, well, you invest in a cryptocurrency we don't like, therefore, what if we hold you legally accountable? You know, like something like that. You never really know where they could go with this. Or what if it's something along the lines of, oh, well, you participated in this cryptocurrency, you know what's happening. Okay, so what's next? Like, you never know where the depths of this go. At the end of the day, though, I do not think they're just out to get random people. They're actually genuinely, it seems, trying to make the crypto space better. But there are going to be a lot of Coinbase employees, Kraken employees at Binance who are going to be scared in their boots right now, because you have to assume that if you had any role in any kind of trading like that, especially if it was on a larger scale, then they are coming for you next. They're not just going to stop here. If you really think those are the only people that have done insider trading from a major exchange, think again. It's definitely happened multiple times, and you can even see the cases of it as some sell-offs do happen not long after that seem to be associated with wallets that bought right before. I mean, you can track that pretty easily. These guys also tried to hide their tracks by going through separate decentralized wallets, once again proving that does not work. Not at all, not even a little bit. They will still catch you. So it's ridiculous that people even try going through decentralized wallets, going through wallets in other people's names, like family members and things like that. None of that will work, not even close to working. So you have to really, truly be careful when you especially work at a crypto exchange not to follow these same guidelines. And now I think after this, people really won't do it. I mean, you're not going to see the same sell pressure that you've seen before after exchange listings. And so we could actually, as a result of this, see bigger spikes from exchange listings than we did before. So that right there is pretty cool. Now you can also try to guess which cryptos will be listed, and that right there is another smart investment strategy, which is one of the things I do on my Patreon. So hopefully you found a lot of value there and you continue to do that. Matt Berkney says Matt is a paid show. I mean, I make money from advertising revenue. I would love to be paid. I would love to be like an insider. How cool would that be? I mean, I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't actually, because then I couldn't say what I wanted. But all right, how about this? I will say this: the FBI
is a silly little piggy. See, if they were paying me, could I say that? If I was secretly an FBI agent, would I be allowed? I couldn't say that, could I? No, of course not. See, there we go. There's the proof. And I'm definitely not an FBI agent who is saying that to try to convince you that I'm not an FBI agent, because you know that I wouldn't say that unless I was an FBI agent, because I'm not, if that makes sense. Okay, I'm fine. I'll just admit it. Yes, I'm an FBI agent. I think it's time to come clean. Been working for the good old FB to the I for 69 months now, and it's quite a nice job. That's you wonder how I can predict all of these cryptocurrencies. It's because the FBI just tells me. They send me a text. They say, "Hey Matt, here's what crypto's going up next," and I'm like, "All right, thanks FBI. I appreciate it." Oh wow, what if I get arrested for that? Like the FBI arrests me for insider trading with the FBI. Just imagine, like, that would just be ridiculous. Anyway, I'm just kidding. Or am I? I'm Matt Wallace. This is Final Stand, and I'll see you in the next video.